Welcome everyone to this CARM presentation on the status of CBSA implementation and updates. I'm glad you can join us, and this is one of a series of presentations that we have been doing on a number of hot button customs issues. With me is my co-host here, Dave Pentland, Senior Vice President, Carson International. Dave's a very experienced customs broker. It needs no introduction. My name is Dan Kisselback. I'm now the managing partner in Vancouver and a lawyer that has practiced in the area of customs and global trade in the last 30 years. So what we want to do is give you a little update on what's happening in the wild, wonderful world of CARM. Over to you, David.
Great. Thanks, Dan. Welcome, everybody. Either good morning on the West Coast or good afternoon on the East Coast. Today, we're going to really look at a few things. We're going to sort of a quick refresher on the basics of CARM. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail on it. If you require that, we can certainly help you at a later date or send some information to you. Sort of where we are today, release 1, and today, as CARM sits today. Release 2, which the big news was release 2 was set up for spring of 2022. It was a hard date that CBSA was not going to budge off. Now it's there is no date published, but it looks like the earliest will be January 1st, 2023. Then some updates as far as surety bonds, and then looking at some of the CBSA issues that are currently still under review and that they're pending. And frequently asked questions that we get asked probably almost weekly on. And then last, we'll leave it with sort of how to prepare and what to do as of today for CARM. And then if you've got any time, certainly we're open to any questions or answers. So next slide. So CARM refresher is, it's CBSA's accounting revenue management when it boils down to it. Right now, phase 1, the easiest way that the analogy I've done with people, it's pretty much going from your paper credit card statement to being able to view your credit card statement online. And that is sort of the end of it. It's really been designed to automate the tasks for end-to-end accounting and for your importer assigned security. And you're going to be digitizing collection and retention of data. But really right now in phase 1, once you set up your portal, you'll be able to see what you owe CBSA on a daily basis. In the next revolution of that, it'll be intended to help with compliance measurements, we're told by CBSA. And they're going to take a look at business intelligence and analytics. And we've heard that this will help them in vetting importers to see who are the best in class, worst in class, people that need a little bit of nudging. We've yet to see examples exactly what it looks like, but we're waiting patiently. So I've been actively working on this for probably the last 8 years. CBSA has been working on it for probably the past 10 years. And the stakeholders and specifics on phase 2 are still pending a little bit, and that's why they've been moved off the hard date of this spring. If you'd like a CARM primer on how to set up your portal, just drop me an email and I can send that to you, and it's pretty easy to set up. And right now there's sort of phase 1, phase 2. Many people in the brokerage industry and some trade consultants have asked, is there a phase 3? Is there a phase 4? Customs doesn't really want to answer that until they finalize phase 2, and maybe there is a phase 3. So at this point in time, we're unaware. So next slide, please.
It's crystal clear in my mind, at least. Phase 1, you're off the hard date of spring. What would you be guessing as when that be?
Well, phase 2, we've heard that it can't be before January 1st. Of 2023.
Gotcha.
So that's, but unfortunately, they don't want to publicize that because it was really, when they publicized that May of 2022 was going to be hard start of phase 2, they had to change a lot of regulations and rules and procedures to get that date taken away. So that just happened. So verbally, we heard this about a month ago, and then just in the last week, they've actually advertised it, but they won't advertise another date as of yet. So if we do see something, we'll bring it out. I put this slide in here. This slide's been around for 3 years. I'm almost sick and tired of it a little bit, but it's really just CBSA's vision. They still put it why they're doing it, why they're changing, and I always commend them on trying to get it totally away from paper and digitizing things. But I put it up just because they're still using it. It's supposed to be the be all and end all. But again, the proof will be in once we get into phase 2 and we get through some of the hurdles that are yet to be set up with the CBSA. So next slide.
I guess the idea in terms of vision is it fits within the motto of more ways to serve you, right?
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. Yeah. We were laughing about that earlier when we were talking, but yeah, again, I commend them at what they're trying to do. It's just, I think they are taking what the US government did with their ACE portal in the United States, and they leapfrogged ahead of Canada as far as taking away paper and digitizing. But I think they put a lot more manpower and thought and processes in place. And I think we're a little behind that. So we'll just have to wait and see how phase 2 progresses. So right now, under CARM client portal, and before phase 2, you need to set up a portal. So that's a big thing. And so as of today, it's wide open. Brokers are probably the first ones to set up the portals, then importers. I will get into some stats at the end of the presentation, where we are as far as who signed up. And then certainly we were talking about firms like Miller Thomson. If you're required, or if they're required to get involved on your behalf, it's a great benefit. They'll be able to get in and be allowed access by the importer and obtain documents without actually reaching out to a broker or multiple brokers or asking for a firm report. They'll be able to actually go in and access those directly. So that's a great thing. There is a great YouTube video that CBSA put out. It's about 7 or 8 minutes, and it's on how to exactly set up your client portal. So it's actually very good, and it's worth putting in. That's a live link. Anybody wants a copy of the presentation or is signed up for it, we'll send this out with it. So the big thing as of today, all importers need some sort of business account manager, sort of a CARM champion within their company that's set up, and they're the person that CBSA is going to deal with, and that they are the point person that allows brokers, trade consultants, law firms, and people within the company in and out of the portal. So that's a very important person. So that's the one that if you set up your portal, that's great. You probably assigned your business account manager and most likely a backup. If you haven't, then that's the person that you need to decide within your company. And depending on the size of your company, will depend on who that person is within the company. So, and then again, from there, you delegate authority to brokers and trade advisors such as Miller Thomson. So once you set up your portal today, you'll have access to your statement of accounts, which currently most importers obtain the information through their brokers. And this is what you owe CBSA on a monthly basis. So there's basic transaction importation on all imports. There's duty, GST, and going forward in phase 1, there's also information that'll be in there on drawbacks and refunds. So once you set up your portal, you'll be able to see if you apply for a refund. Right now, CBSA does not issue cash checks to importers. They actually will put a credit on your account and then apply it to the monthly amounts that you're owed. So yeah, and a big thing noted as of today is that under release 2, there's no historical data is available. So if you sign up for your portal on April 1st, you'll see information on your statement account and all transactions. With CBSA on a going forward basis, there will be no historical data that's available for you. So also on phase 1, you're able to apply and or monitor ruling requests through CBSA. So if your broker applies for a ruling on your behalf, or if you apply for a ruling, that is all done online, and you'll be able to monitor it online and upload information to CBSA. And also the ability to make payments directly to CBSA. If you'd like to set up payments directly to CBSA and bypass your broker, you're able to actually do that as of phase 1 as of today. So next slide.
It seems like it's similar to the portal for the Canada Revenue Agency and that. So.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, it's moving very much along the lines of taxation, and there is a rationale and behind it that they are trying to simplify things, and they're doing a good job of that. So yeah, this again is from CBSA, and it's worth putting in that the delegation authority always starts with the importer. So the importer is the one that's in charge of the portal. You're in charge of who goes into your account as far as managing the account, but also editors within it, readers within it, and other users. And so everything is driven by the CARM portal and your business account manager that is setting up the portal within the company. From there, you then decide who you're going to let in. In this case, you let in the ZXY customs brokers. If they're acting on your behalf, you have to grant them access. The access needs to be granted under phase 2 in order for that broker to actually handle transactions on your behalf. And so within brokers, within our firm, we then have to assign employees within our company who have access to work on certain accounts. And if we add people, we'll give them access. If somebody leaves our employ or retires, we would then take away access from that account. So, but everything starts, very important to know, everything starts with the importer. So next slide. There's just a paper version of what statement account looks like. Many importers are getting that sent to them by brokers where their statement comes up. In the future, there'll be an electronic version of that available for you. As soon as you sign up, you will see your transactions on a daily basis and the amount that you're owed CBSA at the end of every month. Even if your brokers, if you're still making payments through your customs broker, you'll still have the ability to look at your statement of account online. So,
is it going to have the same look and feel, or are you going to have a spreadsheet, or what's going to do?
It'll have the same look and feel. It will be a little bit different. Actually, I probably should put a dummy or demo account. I can probably bring one up and use that in the future. So a lot of it's moving from paper to digitizing information. Sometimes in the digital world, things don't always look that great when they're a paper version of them is created. So it's going to little bit of difference, but it's again, my analogy is it's your credit card statement from paper to online. So yeah. Next slide. So CARM release 2 and is really the big changes on it. There's 2 big changes. One will be surety bonds, and the other is they're replacing the current B3 document, which is the import document that we've used for the past 20 some odd years, into something called the commercial accounting document, or CAD. So this is the CAD is going to eliminate the B3, which is the import document, and also at the same time, it's going to replace in the broker's world the B2 document, which is the one that brokers and importers have used to correct, either ask for refunds or make amendments and payables to CBSA. So this will be done online through the CAD document. So it's going to replace 2 very important documents to date, and that will actually be under release 2 or phase 2. So good thing noting is that customs release processes under all CARM will not really change. Except for the CAD document, nothing on the release side of things is going to change. Now, duty and taxes will be calculated on information presented on the CAD document. The CAD document, we were all thinking that the CAD document might simplify the B3, but in fact, it's actually taken a 1-page B3 document and turned it into 2 pages. It's kind of interesting that the government's trying to simplify things, at the same time they want more information. But we'll just have to see how that plays out. So, again, as I pointed out, delegation of authority must be performed by to enable your customs broker to submit CAD on your behalf under phase 2. So it's very important that your broker or brokers, you grant them delegation authority under phase 2 to ensure that it can continue to release your goods. So now one of the positive changes under release 2 will be there'll be a correction period will be introduced that allow for changes between the CAD submission and the final payment. So currently, if you're releasing under a surety bond of either yourself or your broker, when goods are released, you then have 5 days to perfect the entry. And as of that date, then that's what the entry stands and looks like. And then you make payment at the end of the month. They're going to expand that so that you will actually be able to correct information that will allow changes right up until final payment is made. So this is an interesting concept. I think it's going to allow a lot of give and take where it's been required for people that have changes from values based on weight or other changes when goods come into the country, and enable you actually to do that without actually putting in a document that's burdens down the system and often takes months to finalize. So this will be a very interesting change, and I think it's one very good for the importers as a whole, and also for brokers. So,
may I ask you a question there with respect
yeah.
to that? Like I had a client a while back now, but they would enter provisional entries. It was mining as ore. Based upon the next month's London Metal Exchange value. And so they will always have to true it up later on. So this would help allow them to do the correction before the final payment is made. Is that how this works?
Exactly. That's a perfect example, and similar to people importing scrap paper, scrap metal. A lot of times it's based on when they receive it, they weigh it, they report back, but to get release, we've actually had to put a weight in. So then many times that can't be done within the 5 days. And so this will actually help that a lot. So it'll be a great improvement. So, and the very last thing, and not last by importance by any means, is that surety bonds, each importer, regardless of their size, must have a surety bond in place for release prior to payment with CBSA. So this is something that's CBSA is wrestling with, and this is probably the primary reason that they delayed CARM release 2. Unlike our neighbors to the south, where you can get a surety bond issued, in our office, I can get a surety bond up to $100,000 issued within 4 to 6 minutes online. A rush process presently, because it's paper-based with wet ink signatures required by both the bond company and the importer. A rush one to this day, if I needed a rush, takes between 4 to 6 weeks. So when we pointed this out to CBSA about 2 years ago, they thought that they would work through this. But the industry is right now, because of legislation and the way we operate in Canada, it's certainly much further behind than in the United States, and that needs to be addressed because we're going from a world from 296 customs brokers and a few thousand importers with their own surety bond to the potential that you'll have upwards of 150,000 importers of various sizes, all requiring a surety bond. So the amount of paper floating back and forth and being signed and couriered hurts my head just to think about it. So that's the reason that release 2 has really been pushed back, in my opinion. So next slide. So there's a picture. It's very hard to read, but that's our good old B3 in our brokerage industry. Everybody's happy with it. You see it, and that's what is being replaced. And it's the CAD document is really a digital document. And so just recently has CBSA come out and said that they'll actually they put together a printed version, and so a new version is come up. And I think the next slide we've snuck in the new version. Yeah, now that's in really tiny and that's just the first page. The second page has more boxes than ever before. But again, CBSA is mentioned that they're simplifying things. It's just that sometimes simplification requires, in the digital world, more components. So we're led to believe that this may be a good thing because we've yet to see it, but the analytics and information you'll have access to as far as an importer may be far greater, but we'll just have to wait and see. We've yet to see screenshots of exactly what this entails, and so that's on a list of outstanding issues that CBSA is still addressing. So if you want a copy of that, just send me an email or send Dan an email. We can send you a link to it. It's online. It's a bit of a word chart, but it's that's what we're going to be living with. So next slide. So surety bond, we talked about the history, released or prior to payment. The ability to do this in electronic format for surety bond is really a issue that's it's probably the top of the list of the express couriers, because they're in their world to release goods. And actually, in our world, there's only two ways to do it. One, you either pay customs for duty and taxes at time of release, or you have an ability to guarantee the payment of duties and taxes, and that's the RPP, or release prior to payment. And so the only way to do that is to either post a cash security with Canada Customs or have a surety bond. And so it's causing angst with the couriers, because they're saying that, there may be a new company or somebody who doesn't have a surety bond in place, and the goods will arrive. And in this present environment, remember, a rush surety bond takes 4 to 6 weeks. The couriers don't have enough warehouse space to house these rush shipments that are sitting there. So this is really an issue that has to be addressed. And the present process today just does not work. So it's I'm hoping that we take a real hard look, and our government pushes forward and enables electronic bonds in Canada. And we get into what the U.S. experience is, where they've been in electronic bonds for the past 15 years. And then the digital issuance of a bond will free up all the small ones, and this will kind of go away. And it'll be a much cleaner environment, and then we can tackle the volumes. And I think this is the biggest hurdle that needs to be addressed as far as the whole CARM process. And if we can actually address this, I would say that 50% of the issues will go away because of this, and certainly time element and the impact on importers on the release of goods will eliminate, and life will go on, and it'll be a great place. So it's the U.S. has a great system in place, and I just hope CBSA is looking at the United States experience and is taking some notes and moving ahead. So we'll just have to wait and see. And I'm sort of predicting, I put it out there, that if this doesn't take place, the electronic issues of digital bonds, that we might see a further delay in phase 2. So we'll just have to wait and see.
So the industry associations are on this one?
Yeah, they're very much on it. The unfortunate thing, in the United States, the surety bond market is a very, very big market with some big players. In Canada, it's got a couple of smaller players who are used to dealing with brokers and some. So it's really the size of the marketplace, and you have to understand. I would think that I don't want to cloud how you look at the bond players in Canada right now, but this now they've been thrown into a monster pool of the ability to generate a lot of revenue with a lot of new surety bonds that they haven't been able to access or have been required by customs in the past. So they're not exactly really open to having new competitors come in who have far better systems in place. So I think it's a bit of a play. So certainly the Canadian Surety Bond Association, which is a very small group of players, is being active in trying to pursue this. But again, at the same time, I'm not sure they want all the larger competition in from the United States. And the thing is, the players in the United States, they have systems in place already. So I think there's there's a melting pot that I think if they allow them in, they can learn from their ways, and that the importing group in Canada can benefit by sort of a melting of these. But it's a dance that's taken place. Brokers aren't always invited to these meetings. Currently, the Canadian surety bond group is they're working with CBSA. So I just hope they're working an electronic version, and all of a sudden they're going to announce it, and then we'll move forward, and yeah. So people are working on it, but there's not a lot of information coming out of it right now. So,
Gotcha.
So next slide, please. So we talked about this. So RPP is really, there's only two options, because I've had numerous people say, well, there's got to be another way. Can't I just continue to put my RPP on the broker's bond? So currently brokers have bonds. They max out at $10 million. So most of the larger brokerage companies have pretty much maximum bonds of $10 million. And all the importers or clients security with customs is pledged against that bond. That won't be an option. There'll only be two options. You either post a cash bond with CBSA directly yourself, and that's 100% of the importer's highest monthly accounts payable, or you put a surety bond. And the surety bonds are calculated at 50% or more of your highest monthly accounts payable to CBSA within the most recent 12-month period. So you can see where the problem arises with surety bond companies is that if you're a brand new company, you're now going to be required to post a minimum $25,000 surety bond. And does a surety bond company really want to loan or put up a bond of $25,000 if you're a brand new one-person company operating with a website of your house? I'm going to say the chances are probably slim and none. So it's that's a real issue, and I hope that excuse me, I hope our government doesn't continue with this paper format, because it has the potential to stop entrepreneurs from starting up businesses and having to go to the bank for an additional $25,000 because they must put a cash bond with CBSA to release goods. So,
you're going to need to have more working capital if you start off.
Oh, definitely, yeah. It's so whatever your line is, you'll need another minimum $25,000 cash to allow goods to be released in a timely fashion without paying for them at time of release. So, so next slide. So this is readiness as of January 26th from CBSA. Currently, there's 10,933 importers that have set up a CARM setup portal. And in that group, there's brokers as well. So those are importers and brokers. So that's all the CARM portals that have been set up. So in that group, there's 63% of them are top 300 importers by volume, and 65% of the top 300 importers by value are set up. So there still is a large group of the big importers who have still yet to set up their CARM portal. But again, the deadline, there is no deadline to set it up, and there's no advantages until phase 2. So if anything, this may have slowed the process down a little bit, and some of the larger importers are still looking to decide who within the company is going to be the business account manager, and probably digging into more details. I know we've got a number of our larger clients are still waiting to find out what sort of analytics are going to come in, and is this accounting focused, or should they have their supply chains becoming the business account managers? So I think it's kind of press the pause button on it right now. And then the other thing is 39% of the top 3,000 importers have been set up. So there's a big drop off there between 300 and 3,000 that are set up. And then currently 85% of licensed Canadian custom brokers are set up. It's hard to believe that some of our brokerage brethren haven't set up the portal yet, but I guess There's 296 brokers in Canada, so I guess some of them are just haven't seen a need to do it right away, but I would think that should be close to 100% by spring of this year. So next slide. So this is really hard to read, but you don't need to see much in it. This came from CBSA's, from stakeholders, CBSA on their strategy. And the thing is that they have this pyramid and they have various aspects of it. And the thing that jumped out at me is at the very bottom of it, they have CARM, and below it is new initiatives. So I was asking about what the new initiatives were under CARM, but they're yet to divulge what those new initiatives are. So anytime there's an unknown, it kind of makes me pause and have a question mark and put a little note that I need to go back around and kind of dig a little bit. So I'm not sure what's going to happen under new initiatives. So if something CBSA has something that they're working on, they certainly haven't let the trade know what those new initiatives are going to be. So it's something that we're watching closely, and certainly it comes my way, I'll certainly make it available to Dan and his group and anybody else that would like to know. So
you're working the back channels to try to figure.
Yeah, So next slide.
More ways to serve you, right?
Yeah, that's right. More ways. So these are frequently asked questions. So let's just bring up the first one. Is CARM mandatory for all importers? So regardless of size, the answer is yes. So if somebody within your company says, is this something we must do? You have to do it. Whether you do it today, tomorrow, you need to do it before phase 2. So the goalpost has been moved to phase 2 to the earliest is January 1st, 2023, but nobody can escape it. It's going to be mandatory. So everybody has to get involved in it. So next one. Must I create a CARM client portal? Yes, just straight yes, you have to. So next. Will all importers require surety bond to use with RPP or CBSA? CBSA is told us categorically yes. Must I give access to my custom broker to clear goods for me under phase 2? Yes. If you don't, the broker can no longer clear goods for you under phase 2. So. As an employee and importer, how can I gain access to the CARM portal? So this comes up a lot where we'll do a presentation to somebody that helps set up, and somebody in my staff will help them set up to get the portal. And then somebody in the logistics team will go, how do I gain access to the portal? You have to contact your business account manager within the firm. So the broker can't grant you access to the portal ever. It has to be whoever's your business account manager that controls it within your firm. So next. How can we change our settings in the CARM portal? Only the business account manager can authorize changes. So it's very important who the business manager is that they're the person that's going to be actively involved. I'm suggesting that in most firms, it should be somebody on the accounting side of your operation, because under phase 2, they will be paying CBSA directly under that portal. And if you want other people within the company to have access, that's easy to give them reader ability, have a window into it, but really somebody in accounting should be the person doing that. And also, when you have to change settings. We did have a case where we had a senior VP at a large Fortune 500 company thought that he would like to be the business account manager, but he quickly realized that this is almost a daily where people are coming to him to grant access, and he quickly decided that he no longer wanted to be the business account manager. So I think this is the most important thing, is when you understand the portal, is selecting the right business account manager that suits your firm. It's not necessarily the person at the top of the totem chain. They may want to have visibility, but certainly they may not want to be the person that is dealing with it on a daily basis, letting people into the portal or changes in the portal. So
you want a worker bee, not a queen bee.
Hey, I'm going to start using that, Dan. Thank you. Yeah. So yeah. Good thing is supporting documents for rulings and appeal, etc. at the top of each page in the portal, there's actually an upload document section. So this is quite exciting because now importers and or their brokers can actually upload documents directly to customs without trying to send them into local customs offices. They no longer like faxes. They have security settings when you email things. So this is actually a very good tool, and it's a welcomed addition. So looking forward to it. Next one. How do I view my statement accounts? So it's very easy to view your statement accounts, and you just go to financial information, and then statement of account is in the menu, and you pull it up. And the statement account will be on a daily basis. So you actually see a live what you owe CBSA as far as duty and taxes. And again, on a going forward basis. So.
Can I ask you a quick question here?
Yeah.
With respect to your business account manager, the BAM, is there a capacity within the system to have a level of redundancy? Say, for example, you have a sickie and if somebody's not out well and they're not able to do that function, what happens then? You don't want to have to apply for a new one, do you?
No, yeah, most of them will set up two. You could set up more than one. So you can, and I'm saying most companies should have at least two business account managers. But certainly, you can't set up multiple ones. So, I mean, customs will certainly grant you the ability to do at least two and a backup. But more than that, they're trying to have one gatekeeper. And I know when they initially set this up, they really wanted one gatekeeper, but really that's not realistic. Things happen, people retire. People have sicknesses, illnesses, etc. So, but I would say you need two, but more than two is just not probably going to work. So, yeah. Next question. And I think we got a few more questions we could ask. Next one. Is there ability to print the CAD? I have to change this because CBSA was working on it, but they just published it. So I put a copy of it there. So it's actually there. So it's the ability is there. Under phase 2, they're still talking about who can load surety bond information into the CARM portal. CBSA is working on this. They're not sure if it's going to be the importer. Is our surety bond company's going to have access? Who's going to have access to it? The data matrix, like I mentioned on the CAD, is yet to be published for software providers. So CBSA is working on this. However, it's required well before phase 2 for programming purposes. So some of the software vendors are tearing their hair out a little bit because they need to be able to find out how their systems are going to work for their clients and how to integrate with the software that customs has. And for importers, at the same time, once this is meshed out, they want to know what kind of reports will be available as well. So stay tuned. That's still being worked on. How other government agencies, such as Canadian Food Inspection Agency, other agencies are involved. This is yet to be finalized by CBSA, how this is going to work within the CARM portal. So we're just waiting to find out. There's a mechanism in place right now, but that's going to be replaced when the CARM under phase 2. So next. Where is all the CARM data being housed and where is it secured? Well, the data is going to be held in the cloud by the cloud service provider. So the CSP is the cloud service provider, and that provider is under the next, go to next. CSP, our government went out to find a CSP, and surprise, surprise, they decided that Amazon Web Services, AWS, and they've been vetted and awarded the contract to hold your secure import data. So the government has decided they don't have the wherewithal and the ability to keep this data. They've gone to an outside provider. So Amazon Web Services, and that's the old adage, you can do just about anything on Amazon. Well, they will, they'll be holding your information in the cloud for us. So, yeah. So what do I do to prepare and what do I do today? So the takeaways really are understand the basics of CARM. If you haven't listened to a presentation, there's CBSA's got some online, our company's got some online, some of our friendly competitors have got. The more information you get, the better you are. Get as much information as you can so you can really understand the basics of CARM. and then select a business account manager to pilot the program within your company. And they need to be the person that wants to champion this, and then set up your CARM portal. And a word of caution is, I know we have somebody within our company who works for us in our Eastern office, and her email, I jokingly changed it to carm@carson.ca, and that's her actual email. Is that when you're setting up the portal, don't be frustrated because your portal setup, the IT providers that set up the portal, set it up so that you have to have the legal name as Revenue Canada identifies your company, and the legal address, as well as your business number. And the legal name is capital and punctuation specific and space specific. So if you're missing a space, or if you abbreviate something, or you put a hyphen somewhere, it will reject your sign up portal. And you have 10 tries to get it right. I have one company out of probably 200 I've been involved with that actually did it on the first pass. The rest of them, it's either been a lawyer's office when they set up, they moved offices, they abbreviated something. Take, for example, our company, we originated in Montreal. Our name was in French and English. We dropped the French years ago, but Revenue Canada still has the French. So it took us pretty much a day and a half to set up our portal. So don't be frustrated. If you get to a point like that, most brokers have somebody internally that has a liaison with CBSA. They can put in a ticket and find out the information you need. So don't get frustrated. But once it's set up, that's it. And then you can you don't really need to do anything until we get closer to phase 2. So the next step is to authorize access to your customs brokers, and then wait to obtain a surety bond. I'm really telling people to wait. We do have some people that are insisting they get their own surety bonds before that. It's not required to phase 2. It is an extra cost. And also the math on how the surety bond works today versus works under phase 2 is very different. So presently, the surety bond is calculated at 50% of the duty you paid in your highest month. So if you're a company that has duty-free goods coming in, your bond is going to be a minimum bond. However, our government under phase 2 has decided that that bond amount should be the 50% of your highest month of duty and taxes paid. So very different formula. So again, I'm telling people to wait to obtain a surety bond unless you really, really want to be an innovator and you like to pay a little bit more in premiums. And then go ahead. And we do have some of them that want to do that. Can't hold them back, but I'm just suggesting most importers should wait until we get closer to phase 2. And certainly as we get towards any chance that our government will digitize and make electronic bonds to be issued. So, and the other thing is just keep current on all latest CARM updates. You can sign up for them with CBSA. And my big thing is keep calm and prepare for CARM, but you can always reach out and ask for help. So that's sort of everything I've got. And I put in, I'm not going to go through them, but CBSA just loves acronyms. And it seems like with CARM, there's more acronyms that have crawled out of the woodwork. So I just threw a few of them on there that we get asked over and over, a lot of times internally from our staff, just saying, what happened? What's an AWS? Well, that's Amazon Web Services. And they go, what's Amazon involved in importing? I say, well, they host the cloud now. So that's just things like that. So I won't go through that. So next slide. And I don't know if you've got any time for, if there's any questions you have, you can we can open it up. You can either ask them or you can fire off an email to either Dan or myself, and we could certainly try and help you out. But CARM, there's probably more questions right now than answers, but the government is working towards answering the issues that are unresolved at this point in time. So that's sort of where we're at as of today. So. Dan, you got any closing comments at all?
It sounds like it's a work in progress, and that we've seen rollouts of various things over the years, Dave, you and I. It takes a while for some of these things to shake out and issues emerge, and then they have to be solved. And sometimes the projected timeframes for completion change. So that's, I imagine you'll have a further update as we work through this through the year.
Great. So unless there's anything that people want to ask, either fire me off an email, and appreciate your time and patience today. And don't worry, CARM is not earth-shattering, and you know, with what else is going on in the world, we're hoping for senior heads in some of our friendly countries and not so friendly countries around the world. You know, CARM seems pretty small, but we'll just we'll wait and see what happens. So thanks, Dan, for your time, and wish you all the best.
Thanks, everyone.
Take
Bye
care.
for now.
Bye now.